Hi, everybody. Over a little bit. Goodness. Okay, we are on 2069 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Right there on base. This was internal. You have that right. This was internal. This was a betrayal. This was cartel. This was a Mormon faction cartel. And they were covering up big. They were covering up so big they had to bring in for counterintelligence Ray Velarde for that's El Mayo. You know El Mayo, the founder of Sinaloa cartel. Well, one of the founders, El Mayo, El Chapo, right? Founder of Sinaloa cartel. They had to bring in his lawyer, a billionaire's lawyer, to do counterintelligence on Richard because he was a whistleblower. He was corroborating the most powerful man in the world, and that's the president of the United States, Donald Trump. During that time, uh, he was absolutely corroborating everything that our president, Donald Trump, was saying about the border and his investigations that were ongoing there at the border to stop the infiltration and the exploitation. And of course, Jeffrey Epstein and Zorro Ranch abusing and using, exploiting White Sands Missile Range and its restricted airspace. And of course, the philanthropists that were the Mormon faction protective racket, the protection racket with their dual citizen but double agent positions and positions on the Mexican security uh, security councils, where you have access to U.S. intelligence community, and we all know that Connell Wetton is as dirty as anything. He needs to face the harshest penalty for his betrayal of his country, and of course his place at the FBI as assistant special agent in charge, who leaked our son's identity to the cartel. The betrayal is so big. And, so Richard was forcibly removed. This was a system that was trying to protect the Jeffrey Epstein pipeline, the criminal trafficking, the exploitation of our military, the contracts, exploitation of military contracts, lots of businesses that were money laundering, the illicit funds. And, so it is really the epicenter of everything, really. El Paso is the epicenter for everything. And of course, we have just heard that the bullet in um, in the Charlie Kirk case did not match, that the ballistics did not match. Now, just that a ballistics report came out is interesting to me, right? Just that a ballistics report came out is super interesting. So, because in the Walmart mass shooting, I don't even think there's a ballistics report. I know that DPS DPS, so Texas Rangers director for the Western. Texas is huge, right? Texas is so huge. So the Western District, the director of DPS said that 3 years out after the Walmart mass shooting, after 24 people were killed, that they did not have a ballistics report. Okay, they did not have a ballistics report after 3 years. And here, Charlie Kirk's case has a ballistics report, thank God. Um, but of course, the bullet, um, and I don't know where they got it from, this 30 odd six. I'm not buying it. I see a maze of lies, a maze of deception. And I posted that up. And of course, our family posted that up because we've been living through this maze of deception by the very people that are supposed to be serving us, by the very people that are supposed to be investigating properly. And, that are paid with taxpayer money. So I don't buy it. I didn't buy it at the very beginning, um, because of the attempts on President Trump's life and who they were and what they were doing and the connections with this Mormon faction cartel philanthropist group that are up to no good. Absolutely. The Really, they're the troublemakers. They're the troublemakers in the world. I really believe that. Um, when they were targeting they've been targeting President Trump since he came down the escalator in 2015. But, our evidence confirmed, and this is why we're big supporters of President Trump, not because, eh, eh, because the evidence shows that they were targeting him, and they were targeting him to end his life, not only to stop him from being reelected. That was the whole Walmart mass shooting, really. Was it bloody? Yeah, it was bloody. They go at any lengths to tamper with elections. And I believe that when Charlie Kirk got hit, it was because they were keeping him from, he could have been senator, he could have been very high in the government, he could have been president of the United States. And he was so young. He absolutely could. He had what it took. He had he had what it takes to reach that kind of position. And I believe that ending his life was election tampering. I believe that. Um, uh, because that's what the evidence shows. And of course, the Walmart mass shooting, where, where's the ballistics for it? No, we got a gag order. So I'm going to go through um, the Walmart mass shooting because everything going on in this Charlie Kirk case is really eerily similar to the Walmart mass shooting case. And the Walmart mass shooting case happened August 3rd, 2019, and is directly related to our son's case. Why they would forcibly remove our son from the barracks room, take him down to the basement room, take his life, steal his body, have the connections, have this cartel group at the infiltrated level in our security and law enforcement, that they were able to steal his body off of Fort Bliss and traffic it to and make money off of it, to Juarez to be disposed of. Um, yeah, that takes a coordinated effort, a lot of money to pay off all these people for their betrayal, right? And clearly, evidence indicates our son's partial remains, because there's also evidence that his organs were harvested. Yeah, and I have to say it quick to get it over with, okay? And then uh, that didn't work, y'all. It didn't work. to say it quick. And evidence indicates that he was disposed of at Plenitude Crematorium. And that's in the news right now. And I need to really address it. But we have, I mean, it is just breaking news all the time right now. And a lot of things are coming back. We are in the vicious negotiations for the repatriation for our son's remains and to hold those who did this accountable. And we are in contact with a lot of people. And so, people that are trying to send us tips and everything, please be very, very patient with us because um, it's been very, very busy behind the scenes. A lot is happening in the law enforcement and the courthouse and in El Paso, Texas. And so our son's um, case is very intertwined with the Walmart mass shooting case that was used to target President Trump to blame it on him, to put a false narrative on it, and to blame it on him, say it's his fault, to smear him in order to tamper with the election. For they wanted to stop him from winning the 2020 election. And really, they were trying to put in Beto O'Rourke, and Beto O'Rourke was such a failed candidate. It didn't work. I mean, his family property borders the north part of Zorro Ranch. And Zorro Ranch borders White Sands Missile Range restricted airspace. So the Duartes, the Cesar Duarte, who I really want to talk about too today, this Mexican family that was let in, invited, welcomed by the De La Vega Foster um, criminal group to come into the United States. See, you have to have someone like a sponsor, right? You have to have someone like, showing you the ropes and giving you access to do the dirty deeds that the Duartes did and to buy and to have access to the banking to buy all the property that the Duartes did, which bordered on Zorro Ranch. Okay. So this is, there's just uh, so much information, but it's all coming together to be really simplified, right? Once it's together, you can really see it. Um, and Richard's case is very connected to the Walmart mass shooting case because the Walmart mass shooting was an orchestrated bloody mass shooting, okay, on August 3rd, 2019. And we believe it was in retaliation from the De La Vegas being investigated by the Trump administration. Okay, and so they had cause to um, try to pull off something like, and they did such a rush job. It was so terrible. I mean, I guess elementary school, can look into this case and see, once you look into the case, most people don't have time to look into cases, right? But once you look into the case, it just takes a very short time before you see all the fraud and all the mistakes that uh, tell you that the bullets don't match, right? The bullets don't match, nothing matches. And so, I wanted to explain that today because Richard absolutely with his unit absolutely was tying together the military with the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting. And we know because of witness testimony, not because we said so, but because there's witness testimony, that the Walmart mass shooting the crime scene was staged, meaning they tampered with the crime scene. Um, And that is, so I want to show you some pictures of that. I want to tell you, I think if I show you pictures, I think if I show you some videos, you can understand. And this is only the tip of the iceberg, but you can understand what's going on in the Charlie Kirk case, which is also seems to be very tampered with. So let's start, because if Richard was reporting his knowledge of his unit and or the military, um, and I'm being very careful what I'm saying, right? Um, Involvement in the orchestration and or the tampering of the Walmart mass shooting. Yeah, that's big news. That is huge, huge news. So let's see if I can get started. And I have a bunch of um, these open, and I'm not really that great with all of this. But if you don't know, this is Patrick Crucius. This is how they were bringing him into court. And you see how they're bringing in Tyler Robinson. He's innocent until proven guilty, right? And they're bringing Patrick Crucius into court like this. They were absolutely setting him up, because look at him. This defendant, right, who is not innocent at all. Okay, he's not innocent. He's with this group, but he has um, autism. He has autism and other mental health conditions. And you can look at him and see. The point is that when um, when he was arrested, he should have immediately, and his lawyer, Joe Spencer, should immediately requested a mental health evaluation to test him for competency to sit for a trial like this, because he was looking at the death penalty. They never did that. And that is required by Texas law, to test him for mental health and for competency. And yet they did not do it. They did not do it. There's no mental health evaluation, because they did not want it to get out that he is very autistic and has other major mental health conditions. And, so people like, oh, they're going to use a mental health excuse or whatever. And y'all, I'm beyond that. Patrick Crucius, when you see him talk, when you see him walk, he couldn't tie a shoe when he was 18. He was banging his head on the pavement when he was 3. So says the neighbors. He failed kindergarten. He had to be set um, to the side in kindergarten, or even in special education class, set aside because he would hurt himself, and he couldn't participate in class because his mental health situation was so severe. And so here he is. They dress him up with a bulletproof vest and all, the stripes and all, and not one mention that his brother right here, let me see if I can, um, let's see, there you go, that his brother right here got married to the daughter of the El Paso federal courthouse manager. Okay? Not one. And here we have the marriage certificate on the 29th of May 2021. Okay? So they got married. They were engaged. They were dating. And this is the federal courthouse manager, where Patrick Crucius's um, hearing was being heard. Uh, is just crazy. This is the signature, and you're going to see it again. This is his signature. We call him Patsy, and that, God has a great sense of humor because that's exactly what he is. And I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm saying that he's a Patsy, that there's active shooters that are at large. There are active shooters from the Walmart mass shooting that are at large right now. That's what I'm saying. Because that's what oh, this is, how did I do that? I don't know how I did that, but, uh, and I wanted to go back. Let's see if I can go back to where I was. Hmm. Oh, there it is. Okay, so if I need to go up. This is, this is the judge, okay? Judge Guadarrama. Gosh, he's so guilty in all of this, y'all. He's so guilty because here is the federal courthouse manager. There's his daughter, Alexis Mayella, and this is the son, Michael Mayella, who is a hacker. He's a hacker. Now this is when he's younger, but he's a hacker. He interned for the FBI at the time. At the same time, he was in the DA's office with Jaime Esparza at the same time. There's Jaime Esparza right there with Patrick Crucius, okay? This that he was the DA at the time. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And then, of course, you have Joe Spencer right there. And then this is the when they got engaged. So this is and they got married on May 29th, 2021. So yeah, and then of course this is Lorraine Mayella who loves to jog, and she likes to jog with he's a judge now, Anthony Aoun. Anthony Aoun was intake there at the courthouse. I mean, the conflicts of interest are so huge. Look, Patrick Crucius, this is his family. This is Patrick Crucius's family, and it even gets more interesting as you learn more. Um, and so this was absolutely a cover up because here we are, five and a half, well, that's 6.5 years later. And I think we're the only ones reporting on this, on Patrick Crucius's family, this conflict of interest that the federal courthouse manager is family to Patrick Crucius, okay? And that his son, well, his daughter is married to Patrick Crucius's brother, and his son is in the DA's office with access to computers, to evidence. And guess what? He was working for Walmart cybersecurity. No wonder we might not get the videos that we want, right? And in the FBI office as well. So that's just a loaded conflicts of interest. So I'm going to get rid of that. This is I kept this. This was some comments, and it says also heard person personally, hospital staff reported different calibers from different victims. It was definitely a cover up. So you're talking about 24 dead, 22, 23 injured. Okay. And the reason why I hesitated there, because the 24th person, he died like a year after, okay, from all the injuries. But and so there was a lot being said in the hospitals, okay? And so that's why this really corroborates our hospital information that we receive. So that's really important. And the other question is, I'm confused. I do not mean to be rude, but what does the Walmart shooting have to do with Richard Halliday? Well, if Richard Halliday was the whistleblower for who were the uh, at-large shooters who were the real shooters in the case, and he was reporting that, there was motive to silence him. That's what this whole point is. Okay. And that the active shooters were military. Okay. Because you had Glennon Oakley Jr., another witness in this, who said he saw people dressed in black with M4s, which is the military chosen weapon, is the M4. This is Patrick Crusius's father, so the defendant's father, the Patsy's father, and I've played him before in the past. Let's play him for a little bit.
Group of healers that were trained by John of God in Brazil.
Let's listen to that again.
Was this. I had a group of healers that were trained by John of God in Brazil who came through wanting to rent my space. I rented the space to them and helped them unload their van. We unloaded these large containers with something very heavy in them. I brought them all in and helped them.
Okay. So what he's saying here is that this is when he meant the disciples of the Brazilian major criminal against women and children that was being promoted by Oprah, heavily promoted by Oprah. And Oprah has a home right there adjacent to Zorro Ranch and Beto O'Rourke's family ranch right there in New Mexico by Santa Fe, by the Duartes. Okay. So here he is. He has to admit, because the evidence shows it, that it confirms it, that he had a relationship with this Brazilian, the disciples of this Brazilian who is in prison now for 600 years, I think he got, because they don't have the death penalty down there and the crimes are so egregious what he did with babies and with women. So yeah, this is, and he was trafficking. Of course, he was trafficking. And he was part of the JE trafficking pipeline, the JE, the files, right? So this is the defendant's father. Very little was investigated. He never came to anything. Yeah, they were absolutely hiding, well, not hiding, but protecting him like the Mayellas, his family. And the narrative was that Patrick Crusius randomly picked El Paso, right? And that he was after Hispanic people. That is all a lie, all a smear campaign, orchestrated in retaliation for the investigations that were going on at the border by President Trump. And so the target was President Trump and trying to stop him from his reelection. So that was what was going on here. Very clear. I mean, the evidence clarifies it. It's not me saying it. So here he is with his children. Here's Patrick Crusius and his son and daughter. This is an earlier picture. They are and I should put the house up there. I always hesitate to put Patrick Crusius's family house up there because it's so beautiful. And, I just feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know who lives in that house still. Maybe they still live in that house. But, these are a very well-to-do family. Okay. They have money, maybe unexplained wealth, because he was also renting out storage units. So he owns some kind of storage unit thing to the disciples of this trafficker. And that begs to answer, were those storage units investigated, right? absolutely we would like to know. Okay, so let's take that down. And then here he is. There's the trafficker down in Brazil. He kind of looks like if I expand this a little bit, he kind of looks like to me, and tell I'm going to get close here. Um, does he look like Paul Foster to y'all? I don't know. There's so many double gangers in all of this. Um, I don't know, but he's over 600 years in prison because of his terrible things that he was doing. So, I don't know why I have that black spot there. I don't know, but so this is Patsy, and of course here's Charlie Kirk and Dan Flood. Why is this important? Why do I have this here? Because um, John Brian Crucius, lived in the same little suburb in Dallas called Allen, Texas, as Dan Flood lived there, and also Brian Harple, right? Um, so this is Charlie Kirk's security, failed, failed security that they kept on. I mean, it is just the creepiest thing ever. Why would you keep on failed security? Okay. They failed Charlie Kirk. They put him in a hole. They put him as a target. Absolutely. Just the location where Charlie Kirk was sitting make them suspects because they know better. This is their job. They know better. And they're from the same town, the same little suburb, Allen, Texas, as the defendant in the Walmart mass shooting, and with this father that's so creepy. Okay, that's why that's important. Here I wanted to point out how they brought Patrick Crucius. He was absolutely guilty until proven innocent, that in their eyes, okay, because that's how they treated him. And and he, he's autistic, so he just went along with it. Sometimes he wouldn't even show up because I guess he couldn't. But yeah, they absolutely were parading him around like this. um and he's a patsy. He's absolutely a patsy. So here he is, before they let his hair get long and scraggly and gave that look to him. Here he is, which would look very much like the Patsy and the Er- um, Eric, sorry, the Charlie Kirk case. I wanted to say Erica, but it's the Charlie Kirk case. This looks, now make this a little bigger too because I just think, "Oh my gosh, this looks so much uh looks so much like him." Right? Here he is with glasses on, here he is without glasses on. Um these are arrest photos. They don't have his hands bagged. If you have just shot um 47, 48 people, right? With tons of bullets. You got to get your hands bagged. You got to get your hands bagged for that forensic evidence of gunpowder, right? They call it something else, GSR or GPR or whatever, but it's gunpowder. They're going to test you for gunpowder. They didn't do that. They didn't read him his rights. And he surrendered twice. Okay. And this guy here is Hispanic. Okay. I'm wondering who this guy is, but this guy is Hispanic. And Patrick Crucius, look at this. This is a mass killing, right? Close range mass killing. Like, you know, really bad stuff. I mean, professional hits. And there's not a drop of blood on him. not even on his shoes. Nothing. I have the video. I've gone over this. There's no blood on him. There's no blood. What is that? I mean, yeah, something is really, really fishy with all that. Okay, let's move on because I don't want to take too much of your time, but this is so important. And here we have this amazing picture. This is Memo Garcia. He's the one that took like a year. I think it was months and months before he passed away. He was shot here outside. Okay, outside, right there. And this is um, Maria Eugenia, right? A logarith wrote. This is where she was laying. This is where she um, lost her life. And so it is like right here, and here is the Memo Garcia area. Okay, so whoever shot them, because here's Memo Garcia's area, whoever shot them like, well, she was the target. I'm going to tell you that right now because when you don't want to see the pictures, but this is why the forensic is so important, why ballistic is so important. But when you see her laying there, um, it was absolutely a professional shot to the head. Okay. This it was not the case for Memo Garcia. Okay. That's why he survived. And survived for, a much longer period. Um, and then he lost his life. So, which is questionable to me, but he now our evidence is that he told people in the hospital that Patrick Crucius wasn't the shooter that shot him. Okay, so the hospital knows a lot of stuff. Okay, and that needs to get out. Who shot Maria Eugenia? So you have here two people now that we counted, but remember that the number is supposed to be close to 50. So 24 killed and another 23, 24 injured. So the number, would be 50. Okay. And there's two more here that are injured that survived. So that would be one, two, three, four. Okay. We got four there. And so this is, oh, I don't know if I want to play this quite yet. Let's do this one. I want to do this one. Yeah, this one here is so interesting. Here is Pat C. Okay, here is number 5. His name is Alexander Gerhard Hoffman wrote also. So, and when I do, an inquiry for facial recognition of Hoffman, and even the Hoffman that's in Arizona, that was the congressman that was up to no good, and Maria Eugenia Lagarith wrote, um, when you do facial recognition, they score very high, like they are related. Okay. I mean, that's how high the scoring is. So something is going on here, and there needs to be further investigation. But this is, you know, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Ugh. Let's make that small. Okay, I wish I was better at this. Okay, so here it is. Here is, and I hope you can see it. There. Here is Patrick Crucius, and I'll make it a little bit bigger. See, here's Patrick Crucius. He's coming in. Now, look, I've got a video. There's people all over here. Where are the people? Where are the people? And if he's shooting coming in here, like Ernest Christopher Grant was the media sweetheart, witness to all this, where are the people? Because there should even be some injured people, or there should be some people here. And there's not any people, but there is Hoffman. And here is his blood here. He's laying down here. I redacted this picture, okay? He's laying right here. This is his blood. It was a professional shot to the head, okay? They did not want him to live, okay? Um, and his family have committed fraud in this case, just to let you know, for the Walmart mass shooting victims funds. So that is important for people to know, that something is going on here, because oh gosh, it's complicated, but I just want to let you know that we've got the proof for that. Evidence confirms it. Okay, so here's the blood, and he's coming in. He couldn't have had, the way this is here, he couldn't have had shot him. Okay, this proves right here that there was another shooter. Okay, that this was, but watch this. And we've been, I've been through this for years. So, let's see, what am I trying to prove here right now? Yeah, there seems to have been, like, okay, so here's a video that I have. See, it seems that the blood here was wiped up or something, because here it is in the video that we have, where they're walking around him, they're walking over him, they're taking pictures. This guy took a picture of him, right? And where's all that evidence, right? They did not secure the crime scene for 2 days, y'all. 48 hours. Over 48 hours, this scene was unsecured. Okay. Now, the other thing about this is, where are all the people? Because in the news articles, it says victims were laying here. This is where a lot of victims had lost their lives or were injured. Where are they? There's nobody there, just Hoffman. And then you have outside the 4. Remember, we counted 4, so that's 5. We're talking almost 50 people. And the man that's in this video that I have, that I've posted up, he's only talking about Hoffman. Okay, he says there's a man there that's injured. There's a man there that's injured, right? He doesn't know. He walks in and he realizes, oh no, he's more than injured, But yeah, so where's the people? This is, so it seems like the blood has been wiped up. So there's a tampering of the crime scene. That's what I'm saying. And then here it comes. This is a DPS picture that was released to the public to prove that Patrick Crucius was the shooter. But what it shows, what it confirms, is that he wasn't. Because we've got this video, this guy standing over it. We've got this wetness here, right? This wetness. And it's like they cleaned it up. They wiped it up. This is a concrete floor. And then you have Patrick Crucius coming in here. It's like, so what I'm saying is, Patrick Crucius was an innocent, but he was absolutely a patsy. So let's go to the next one. There's so much. We've got so much evidence. What did I do? I pushed that little arrow. Let's go back. Okay. So here is this one. um, which is pretty much the same, just a different angle. This is a picture of him coming in, and he never really holds the camera up. I mean, the gun up. It's always like this, but this is going to this is oh gosh. Okay, so this is dark because I I redacted, this is one of my earlier pictures and I didn't want people to see the blood. Okay. But this is Kaufman here. Let me see if I can get a little closer. Here's Hoffman here. Sorry, I said Kaufman first, but I meant Hoffman, Alexander Gerhard Hoffman. And this is another person that's standing there. This is a guy, remember, that comes over and takes a picture. They're just walking around but there's nobody here and there's nobody here. But this guy comes through, and I have the video and I've put it up. This guy comes through with a baby. That is a baby right there. And we believe that the Anchandos were also victims in this hallway. So that makes 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. And the baby 8. So that's 8 that we can count. Okay? 8 that we can count. And then there's all kinds of tampering going on. So this is the Anchando baby. The parents did not survive. Okay. But the parents, the Anchando parents, were living in a house that was connected to the El Paso medical examiner that is illegal and not qualified for his position. And his position, and he handled all of these bodies, right? All these bodies. His position makes $500,000 a year. Okay. So, it's a position that really needs a lot of scrutiny and looking at and the best qualified people, right? You need to have like medical and legal because you are like a judge. When you are a medical examiner like that, you are a judge because you determine the cause and manner of death. Um, when you receive the body. So this is uh, crazy, the connections in this, because it was Veronica Escobar, Representative Veronica Escobar, that brought in Mario Raskin Ortiz, the cartel connected, illegal, unqualified individual that she put in this position to be the medical examiner to make um, way more money than just about everyone that lives there, except for the De La Vegas, except the Duarte. I mean, it's just this is the same group as medical examiner, $500,000 a year right now. So this is him going, and that is such a strange picture. The whole thing is so strange, right? And here's the Enchando baby. Okay. So let's see. And then this is a doozer too. Gosh, there's just so much here. So this is earlier that day, like he's checking it out, and you have the time 9:58 a.m. And he's going in and he's buying some oranges, and I have a picture of him eating the orange, and here's the people. See how the people are standing around in this front area, right? Whereas later, they weren't standing around, but were they? I don't know, because look at this. 10:12, he's buying oranges, right? And here he is on the phone. He's texting people. And we are told that there's like 3,000 shoppers, up to 3,000 shoppers, but it just seems so empty. Um, but this picture doesn't. And, at 10:39 a.m., he is supposed to be outside shooting already. Okay. At 10:41, he's inside shooting. Supposedly, that's the timeline they're giving us. And then at 10:42, Patsy flees the scene, right? Remember, the evidence from his own lawyer uh, shows that he surrendered twice. The first time, they waved him away, and he said, "Oh no, this is not right. I was supposed to die. I was supposed to die. I have to go back. I have to go back." And he then surrendered the second time. Well, where does this all fit in? That he drove in his car, that he surrendered, that he drove off, that he made the U-turn, that he came back, surrendered again, because he surrendered the second time at 11:05. Yeah, that was the first surrender, was like around 10:45, and then around 11:06 was his second surrender. So, that is so crazy. Look at this time. This time stamp, this is the, east entrance. This lady kinda looks like this lady up here, but right there in this spot. Um, who is this lady? I mean, this is a kid, going in, and this guy here, the reason why this, picture is important is because the police released this picture saying, "Oh, this is a suspect. We're looking for him. Let us know if you see him." And then all of a sudden, this is the picture they released, and it has this timestamp. Like, they never looked at this timestamp for August 3rd, 2019 at 11:05. Well, the, it was all over by then. There should be injured people. There should be, you know, they shouldn't be going in with a kid holding hands, going into shop. I mean, this should be a secured crime scene, or, something is, or outside warnings, right? So something is going on with this, and, um, they can't deny these timestamps 10, 12, 51. These are released pictures. Okay, I'm not making this up. This is not AI. This is released pictures. So I just think it just tells you this, that we're not getting the truth. And you see that with the Charlie Kirk case right now, with the ballistics. We have DPS Director Jose Sanchez saying 3 years after this day, right, where we don't have the ballistics for the bullet that killed um, uh, Maria Eugenia, Memo Garcia, um, and Alexander Gerhard Hofmann, and the Anchandos. We don't have the ballistics. There's no ballistic report. And yet, they sentenced Patrick Crucius to 90 life sentences. 90 life sentences. On what? On a plea deal? They got him to do a plea deal? I mean, with lawyers like that, who needs an enemy? But of course, they dragged it out. They did gag orders. They did everything. And, of course, would, Richard knew more. Richard knew more. And that's why he was silenced. Yes, he was reporting on the child trafficking and the abuse of children and all of that. Yes, he was, absolutely, because he called CPS. He was in discussions with the IG and the FBI Houston, which is the child unit. Um, he didn't trust the El Paso because they leaked his identity. He was in communication with the White House. He was in communication with 911 multiple times, Child Protective Services multiple times, IG, internal Inspector General, right? His chain of command, who are the suspects in hurting him. So yeah, and the same people that hurt that were involved in the Walmart mass shooting and are shooters at large, we believe are the same people that hurt Richard, are the same people that hurt Julio Cordero, the FBI agent that also was killed, is the same people that went after Charlie Kirk. Okay, it's the same people. It's the same Mormon faction, cartel protection racket, um, led by philanthropists, narco philanthropists. Okay, narco philanthropists. Okay, so that is really important. But this is, and all of these pictures are on. We've shared them, and they're huge. It's just so much. Let me see this video now. This is the Patsy video, and I think it's important to play.
A Patsy in the Walmart mass shooting crime. Was it all a setup? Fake news, a lie? They said he drove from Allentown to El Paso with a rifle in his hand. Wasn't he living in San Antonio? They said he uploaded a manifesto on 8chan with the racist brand, but he's not a racist. And then the witnesses, they saw the scene of more than one man, one in jeans, a few in black wearing masks, and some with army rifles in the mall. Applaud the media stall. Oh my. They didn't say Patsy couldn't speak until about 6 years old. They didn't say he hit himself, autistic and special ed, we didn't know. They didn't say his hands were awkward and his motor skills were slow. Patsy, was it all a ruse? Patsy, did they paint the news with your name in blood and the story spun? Were you the fall guy when the deed was done? Patsy, were you just a pawn? Was the truth withdrawn? Zero income, that can't be, doesn't add up. He bought an AK-47 online with no money in his cup. They didn't ask why he had zero income, zero needs for a wealthy boy. Like a child, he signed Patsy on the line for millions on the taxpayer's dime. Lawyers went cha-ching, millions and millions for an evil scheme. Patsy, was it all a ruse? Patsy, did they paint the news with your name in blood and the story spun? Were you the fall guy when the deed was done? Patsy, were you just a pawn? Was the truth withdrawn? They didn't show the footage clear of what the camera saw. They didn't mention his El Paso family, how his brother married a Mayela. You know, his judge's manager's daughter. Y'all, what the hell is that all about? Who taught him how to aim and fire? Who guided his unsteady hand? A Patsy who struggled just to speak, now part of a deadly plan. Was this a dirty political screed, a way to attack Trump's accelerating speed in a world of cartel terroristic organizations? Was it on that day a diversion to keep accountability away? Did they need a Patsy for their plan? Patsy, 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 he surrendered not once but twice. His timing wasn't precise.
Police didn't even die.
day.
Yes, so thank you so much. I think this is really important to know that they spent millions and millions of dollars of taxpayer funds to defend him. They did everything they could to drag it out to make more money off of it. The longer they dragged it out, the more that they could charge the taxpayers. And there's no 3 years later, there was, I mean, this is 6 years later, but 3 years in, we received confirmation they didn't even have a ballistics report. Um, Look, Charlie Kirk has a ballistics report. Why can't um, the Walmart mass shooting have a ballistics report? Why do they jump to a confession when they don't even have ballistics? The media does that, and they don't. Now that we know all this information and we have all of this evidence that it was staged, that it was orchestrated, that this was absolutely attack on President Trump. And Richard found out, and he was absolutely reporting it, and that's why they silenced him. And of course, Glennon Oakley Jr., was found not alive in his barracks room in April of 2020, just shortly before Richard, because he's the one that saw the M4s in the mall area, and he was a major witness to what the military involvement and in this. And can you imagine this mutiny, the mutiny of it all, to go after the commander in chief because you're a dirty general or you're a dirty cartel infiltrated into our military that is connected to the JE Zorro Ranch trafficking pipeline, that it's in alliance with the Mormon faction, in alliance with the Mexican cartels that are, inviting the Duartes to come in with their dirty money, to taint and their criminality to buy up all kinds of property and set up shop in the United States to taint our country. It's just, and then to have Governor Greg Abbott be involved in all of this, okay? He is absolutely dirty involved in all of this because he absolutely has done everything he could to block his administration, to block the truth from getting out. Um, and um, and there's more. There's more. So he was protecting his friends that were cartel, okay? And major cartel, like the flesh peddler cartels, the human flesh eater cartels. And I'm so sorry if you are if you voted for him, if you are, a supporter of him, he is absolutely an impersonator, and a deceiver. And, so that because evidence doesn't indicate it, evidence confirms it. Okay. Evidence confirms that he's a dirty governor. So, he needs to face the highest penalty, like these generals and like all these other official. It's kind of like this whole French um, Freemason, right? The French Freemason trial, 22 of them that were intelligence and police and people that were supposed to be trustworthy, and they weren't, and they escalated to the worst type of crimes. And that's what has happened here. And so, we're absolutely looking for accountability and we want our son's remains. So, thank you so much. God bless you. And ballistic reports are really important. And it seems that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. Okay. It really seems like that to us. There's just so much that is very similar to the Walmart mass shooting. Excuse me. Sorry. Thank you so much.